Jabulile Kumalo.
Myself, Simperians. Props to the songs that we just played. We had Lira with Nyabonga, and we just ended it off with Lloyd. So featuring Lloyd, Ella with Tando.
Yes.
So welcome back, Africa.
Yeah.
We are joined by the lovely Miss Novantu, Deep Lady. She will take care of you holistically.
Basically.
That's basically her job, to take care of people on the whole, like holistically take care of you, which is one of the aims of Young Motivation, to take care of people holistically. So she'll be joining us for the segment, the lifestyle segment, the more of a polar type of segment, to just chill and basically not thinking that much, but then still engaging in some thought about staying healthy and keeping in touch with yourself.
And getting empowered.
Yes. Basically. So welcome, Ms. Novantu, and we are just so honored to have you here this morning.
Thank you very much. Good morning, Africa.
Good morning. Yes, indeed,
Good
Africa.
morning, good morning. It's so good to have you here, Mama. Your spirit is just so calming. Ever since you walked in, we're feeling so calm and so warm and so energetic. And we thank you so much for coming out so early in the morning. You know, I just want you just to take a moment just to introduce yourself to Africa and just to let them know what you're about, what you do. I think because you're the one who's going to do it better. We've been trying to promote you and market you, but I think you will do it good.
Thanks, Jabu. Thanks for having me.
Only a pleasure.
I'm glad to be sharing this time with you and for you having to be with me. And for me, basically, I think what I am about is to promote internal transformation. It's starting from inside out. You know, we live in a world where we really are so much stimulated from outside.
Yes.
That we let the things from outside to determine how we react to things and who we are and how we should be. And I think the main kind of refuge you can develop for yourself is the inner refuge, where you really develop and strengthen your internal refuge such that you can influence the world. So it's empowering, it's influencing, and it's not just being a sponge from what is outside, but to be influential and to have what I call appropriate response. Because when we take things from the external environment, we tend to be reactive.
Yes.
And as such, by becoming reactive, we lose our power.
Yeah.
But if we know exactly who we are and how we are internally, then we are able to use that power consciously. And when I work on this internal transformation, basically, I try to integrate the different intelligence centers that we have.
Yes.
Mostly in the world, we use the head center. That is, we have to be smart, we have to be cool.
Oh, yes.
And that's the thoughts, that's the thinking, the planning and everything. And when we do that, we think, wow,
Exactly.
I've arrived.
Yeah.
But we do have other centers, like we have the heart center.
Yes.
Which is the center of love, the center of emoting, and the center of the ability to connect with others, the ability to be selfless.
Yes.
And really, when we connect with that center, that's when we open up. We have this expansive heart.
Yeah.
And we are able to love the unlovable.
Oh.
And have the courage to love beyond whatever we've gone through to life. And when I think about this, I think of Viktor Frankl.
Yes.
Who was during the Holocaust, and he was there being tortured. He saw a lot of people being killed. But what kept him alive and strong was the compassion that he even had for his abusers. And he was able to own that part in him as well. Because once we look at those who abuse us as being out there only,
yes,
we tend to disconnect with ourselves.
Exactly.
Because we hold both these.
Yes.
We're good, we're bad. And both these poles exist in our lives. But once we tend to only focus on the negative poles, we tend to discount the negative ones.
Yes.
And that in sense doesn't complete us as human beings.
Powerful, you know.
Very powerful.
When I thought of this show and the content of the show, and I was thinking, you know, in my heart of hearts, my thing is, you know, I have a passion of taking care of people, and I know that it all begins within, you know, and that is why most of the time the content of this show, excuse me, the content of this show will basically focus more on internal issues going to the outside. And most of the time when I speak to my listeners, I would talk about conscious living, how important it is. How would you describe what conscious living is for my viewers?
Conscious living, or being aware all the time, is exactly making sure that whatever we do, we're not sleeping. You know that there are times when you find
Do not sleep.
you know, we need to wake up,
Yes.
Africa.
Yes.
Like, let me give you a simple example. You're driving from home to work,
Yes.
which you do all the
On a
time.
daily basis, yes.
And then you start thinking, how did I get here?
Yeah, because you do it unconsciously.
Unconsciously.
And I know in psychology they call it like inattention blindness. You're not paying attention,
Exactly.
so you're sort of blind. Sort of
You like a
blind.
bet?
Yes, you're not paying attention, and then you're
I
shocked,
love the
like
way
you say, when you get there.
explain it.
Yeah.
Because so that means basically you're going through life
Yes.
blind.
Sleeping.
I have to wake up. Now, you mentioned something about being a sponge. People should be aware of being a sponge that just absorbs stuff that happens from the outside, or stuff that comes from the outside. I know with cognitive psychology, I study psychology. I know with cognitive psychology, there's this, I don't know if I should say a sphere, but there's this section, there's this part that talks about people approaching life on a top-down processing level, or a bottom-up processing level. Top-down basically meaning you do things based on previous knowledge that you have. So you've learned how to drive a car. You know how to drive a car. You do that on a conscious level, on an unconscious level even, because you just know how to do it. And then bottom-up is when you really take note of your environment, and you really process information from your environment, and you try to make sense of it. Then you make sense of your life, and that's how we develop. So you say people should not absorb stuff from the outside. Do you say that in a way that pay attention but don't take seriously, or do pay attention but don't always take seriously stuff from the outside?
Well, I would say for me what that means is the awareness, because the external environment, it's critical to be aware of what's happening in your environment. And then I think the important thing is, how do I want to play here?
Okay.
Having known that this is what is happening, what is my appropriate response? And talking about what we call unconscious incompetence, there is a place for that, where you really have to do things without having to think about them, when it's second nature. Let's take, for instance, the example of a pilot. They have to operate on an unconscious level, because operating a plane, you have to have a zero margin error.
Wow.
Sure. Okay.
Because there you can't go and say consciously, okay, where do I put this? So what? The
It's
plane.
gonna take a lot of time, and you need to fly and get somewhere.
So you should be doing that when you're sleeping. So that's the only time you are allowed to sleep.
So pilots, you have it good. You are allowed to sleep.
And use your unconscious in competence mode.
Yes.
But basically, when we operate in life, what Jablil was referring to, conscious living. You know, when we are at the unconscious level, we don't know, basically. And when we are in that mode, we sort of somehow claim ignorance. It's a state where it puts us to not be so responsible and accountable. And there's an element of comfort So once we raise our levels to consciousness, then you know what you're supposed to know. And as such, there's that consciousness, and your conscience comes alive.
Wow.
It's like, for instance, if you look at what I usually use in help in working with people, it's what is called the transformational life cycle, where people mainly start off at times at the unconscious incompetent level, where you don't know what you don't know.
Oh, that is just so nice. It's true though. I can really just also relate to that. Sometimes I just don't know what I don't know.
And
I
then
think I
you
just
don't
know.
feel compliant to do anything.
Oh yes.
But as you move to becoming consciously
Incompetent, yes.
then you know what
That
you
you
don't
don't know. Yes.
And it puts you at an uncomfortable level.
Exactly.
Because it says there's something that I have to do here.
Yeah.
And then once you get there, there's a shift because you do things. You
Mhm.
sort of capacitate yourself. You sort of learn things. You move to the quadrant of being consciously competent.
Competent, yes.
Which is a quadrant all the time you sort of have to be improving.
Yeah. And you sort of it's a learning stage where you're learning
Exactly.
things, okay.
And you know the paradox of this is when you think about what the Zen called the child of the mind, the
Yes.
unknowing,
Yes.
where that helps you to have that insatiable quest
Mm.
for learning,
Yes.
the beginner's mind.
Of course.
So there are two things here. It's going through life being aware and awake,
Mm-hmm.
and secondly, as you go through that, it's that beginners of the beginner's mind. What is it that is there that I need to learn more?
Exactly.
And also, with all the what we fed with in the world, the external stimulations, the media, the TVs, and the material things out there,
Mm.
how do you let those not to actually determine who you are and make you to react in a way that the world thinks it's supposed to be, but react from or respond appropriately from internally?